now to our first conversation. Well, in doing business, it's necessary to identify, risk or opportunities that can serve as either a tailwind or headwinds for your business. Well, Allianz Commercial recently launched its Allianz Risk Barometer for 2024. Let's get a sense of what to expect now. Joining us is Ikechukwu Okugo, Group Head, Corporate Sales, Allianz Nigeria. Join us right here in the studio. Great to have you.
Thank you, Ladi.
Yeah.
Nice to be here.
I know some people like risks, because somehow, risk has a way of giving you, more reward, depending on, what you're investing in, at this time. And looking at your report, we see for the global space now, we see the most important business risk of 2024, cyber incidents, topped the list with about 36%. Business interruption, we're seeing that about 31%. Natural catastrophes, 26%. So talk to me now, before we get into 2024, okay. Talk to me about 2023. Okay. The risks that actually manifested, because I know you had a projection, definitely, when we're coming into 2023. So talk to me about the risks that manifested in 2023.
Okay. So thank you, Ladi, for having me once again. So looking at the risk for 2023, it's not so much different from what you are currently saying. Cyber has been dominating the global risk for some years now. So same projection we had in 2023 was cyber going to lead the pack, and that happened. Second on the list was business interruption. So those two risks have dominated the global landscape. I mean, if you notice from the period of the pandemic, from COVID era, we moved on from COVID, people recovered a bit. After recovery, we had a Russia-Ukraine war in Europe, which led to energy crisis. After that, we had some wars going on around the world. So those risks, we've seen them manifest even in this year. In Nigeria, I mean, last year, we had projected that political risk was going to be on the increase, and that's because of the election we were going to witness 2023, and that risk went up to number 2 in Nigeria. Even though we had the macroeconomic risk, which was speaking to inflation that had been on the upward rise for some time, and we saw that manifest in Nigeria last year. However, things have changed in 2024. We've come up with new projections for 2024 based on what we've seen the market do and how the global risk has responded so far.
And talking about, the 2023 being an election year, how much of those risks, how much did they impact, businesses, in 2023, knowing fully well that, fine, a couple of days we had to, instead of getting the results at a particular time, we had issues, with collating and all of that. How much of that, played into businesses, maybe some taking some hits in profit?
Okay, so, I mean, that risk was major, and we witnessed some changes. So many people were scared of what was going to happen, the outcome of the elections. Many people fled the country at some point. Businesses stalled. They were not able to take off projects. So there were many projects that were abandoned. People were waiting to see the outcome of the election. Now, surprisingly for us in Nigeria, we expected to witness violence. We expected to witness some form of uproar, business disruption. However, we were grateful for the way the opposition party took the results after the Supreme Court judgment. That helped to reduce the tension in the country. So yes, political risk was very evident in our country last year, but we're able to see that come pretty low going into 2024.
Yeah, and definitely, talking about violence, we're seeing the sad situation, in Plateau. We're seeing people, get killed at this point. And definitely, insecurity anywhere is a problem, everywhere. How are you guys looking at, this situation in Nigeria? Okay,
so in terms of insecurity, we believe that the government needs to attack the root cause of insecurity. Most times, it's as a result of inequality. High unemployment rate, lack of access to basic amenities and all of that. You might not witness a full-blown war, but you would witness cases like you mentioned in Plateau, the killings in Abuja, the kidnapping of certain people and certain individuals. So you need to address those root causes. It's more of inequality that is bringing about these insecurity issues. So once government is able to address these issues, we would see that spiral downwards. Because
definitely you can't do business in an insecure area, because at the end of the day, the customers are going to be afraid to come by. The buyers, the sellers can't even sell. So insecurity definitely a big problem.
It is.
At this time. But talk to me about the biggest risks now. You say break down the cyber events, at this point, because it's becoming quite a problem right now. Even in the WhatsApp group, you see cases where you get a code, or somebody calls you up and say, you know what, you're supposed to join a particular meeting. We're going to send you a code to register you. Then next thing you see a code, and you might just feel it's coming from a legit group that you are part of. And the next thing, they've taken over your WhatsApp.
Yeah.
It is becoming a serious issue. Yeah, talk to me about this cyber event.
So when you look at cyber, towards the end of the 20th century, something manifested in the global world, and we were so excited about it. That was the rise of the internet, and people were able to connect with other team and pairs around the world. So the internet brought about some form of connectivity with people. Now, it didn't stop at the internet. Going into the year 2020, we then saw a new rise in technology, that's cloud computing, where you then have a form of remote working. You can have your data stored up in the cloud. Now, it was from that cloud computing we then started witnessing cyber breaches, because companies started migrating their data centers from the traditional warehouses that they had to more remote warehouses, that's in the data centers in the cloud. Now, people took advantage of those data opportunities. People took advantage of those opportunities by trying to breach the data companies hold. Now, many companies have access to third-party data. You get third-party data, either people who purchase your goods, you retrieve information from them, you take their biometrics, and you have access to those information. Now, people want to gain entry to that database that you have, and that's what is bringing about the cyber risk. Now, it happens on a small scale, it happens on a very large scale. Some cyber attacks could be state-sponsored, right? You could have some state-sponsored cyber attacks into different governments, different multinationals, to see how they can breach data. Now, those risks lead to large losses, particularly for major companies. They reel out millions of dollars trying to recover. That affects their whole operation. And many of them, it affects their reputation, because people will no longer feel comfortable or trust them to secure their data. People are worried about it. Cyber is a major risk, not just only in the globe, everywhere, every continent. The report shows it in every continent. Africa is also affected, Europe is affected, Asia is affected, and that's because we're connected. And that is a risk that we will keep seeing. Now, people think that cyber cannot be solved. Yes, it can be solved, but you need to invest in it. You need to invest in training your people, your employees. You need to invest in security governance. You need to make a lot of investment in cyber security. Otherwise, you'll keep allowing malwares. So sometimes some employees see some links, or some people see some links, phishing mails. You don't know where those mails are coming from. You don't even know how trustworthy those emails are, and you click it. By clicking those emails, or by clicking those links, you are exposing your company or whatever security device you've put in place to those kind of attacks. So we need to deal with cyber risks, because the losses that come out of cyber risks are very large. They are very large. It could put a company down. And insurance companies are also affected, because some companies have been asking for cyber protection. How do they protect themselves against cyber risk? In the developed part of the world, yes, you have some level of protection over there. Whereas in Africa or in Nigeria, you don't see that level of protection readily available. You need to reach out to foreign partners to get that kind of support. But we need to understand that cyber is real. It's something that is evolving. We're moving from a physical workplace to a much more virtual reality. Now, in 2021, Facebook rebranded to Meta. Now, they realized that from the pandemic, COVID, they saw the trend that was going to happen. People were going to believe more in virtual reality, so to speak. The gamers know about virtual reality a lot. So people are transiting from physical reality to virtual reality. And that was why Facebook rebranded. And people need to understand that these risks are evolving. The longer we play catch up in Nigeria,
right,
we're going to.
So even if it's virtual or physical, there's still, risk right there. And definitely, talking about, companies at this time, we have the big companies, you have the smaller companies, but affordability seems to be an issue because it costs you money to actually protect yourself, from this cyber risk. So are there some kind of affordable, options, for, smaller companies, smaller businesses, trying to, make some profits?
When it comes to risk, every company can adopt 3 different approaches. You could choose to avoid some risk. In avoiding this risk, it could come at a cost. It costs you.
Maybe you just say you want to stay off the internet.
You want to stay off it, exactly, but it's come at a cost. So the opportunity cost of staying off the internet could be you're losing market expansion. You're losing a growing market that you can tap and invest in and build your returns. You're losing opportunity to develop a market. So you could do that, but again, there's a cost to it. Then the second option, you could choose to manage those risks that you can. Right, as little as you can. Maybe you've done your analysis about the country you operate in, your personal analysis, your portfolio analysis, then your SWOT analysis. You could choose to then say, oh, this is the risk I'm exposed to. This is how I want to manage so that I can ensure business continuity. Right? I want to stay in business for this long, so I will do it this way or I'll do it that way. Now, the third part you could do, which I feel is more affordable and better, is the risk transfer. Now, not every risk you can manage, not every risk you can avoid, but some risk you can transfer. And that's where you transfer to specialist insurance company like Allianz, where we then take care of your risk, we manage those risks for you, and we protect you in terms of indemnity, where a claim will then happen in the future, where they're able to indemnify you against such losses. So we always advise employers, we always advise business leaders to invest in risk and transfer so that they are able to mitigate whatever loss they would ever face in the future.
Right, because doing business is risky. But very quickly now, talk to me, we've seen the major risks coming in 2024. Talk to me about ways companies can actually hedge, at this point, because the risk will always be there, but you must do business.
You must do business. So solutions for businesses, we've always said, is that businesses need to prepare, you need to plan, you need to have multiple scenario planning. Right, you need to understand your base case. What is the minimum you are able to allow? What is your worst case scenario, and what is your best case scenario planning? So you need to plan for any eventuality. You must understand that you are in business to succeed, to make profit. So you must plan for all those eventualities. Now, in Nigeria, we are seeing a lot of reforms happening. The government wants to be aggressive about the economy. They want to grow the economy. The banks will sometimes recap. The power sector would also retain some form of recapitalization somehow. So businesses need to invest in strengthening their resilience. You must prepare for those tough times. We know that we're going to experience a tough year in Nigeria because some tough decisions will have to be made. We're trying to rebuild the economy, so you need to prepare, brace yourself for those periods.
We're already feeling the impact of some of these tough decisions.
Exactly.
In 2020, we're feeling in our pockets. Definitely. Thank you so much for coming on. Ikechukwu Okugo, Group Head Corporate Sales, Allianz Nigeria. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Daddy.